Welcome back to Aging, Healthcare, and Everything in Between, where we talk about all the things that help families live well throughout their retirement years. I'm your host, Stephanie Pogue. Now, usually we are talking about things like finances, insurance, planning for life's unexpected medical needs. But today we're talking about something a little bit different, but just as important. That's family legacy. And specifically, the memories, the stories, the milestones, the pictures. Like, how do we preserve all of that and protect it and then pass it along to the next generation? And so with me today, we have John Doherty. He's the founder and owner of the Family Album Company. And John's mission is to help families digitize and preserve their memories so that they can be shared and passed along. So welcome, John. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here, Stephanie.
So first, give me a little bit of insight. Like, what caused you to start doing this? Why do you feel like it's so important that we preserve all these photos and memories, and how'd you get started?
Well, I guess everyone has been through this, the loss of a parent. And I lost my mother at a fairly young age. My kids were 7, 5.5, and 2.5. And I realized that my kids were not going to know who Grandma Doherty was because they're just too young. So I said, boy, I got to gather stuff together. And this was back in '99. So, everything wasn't as readily available now. The processes hadn't gone along. Technology wasn't there yet. So I started on my own, and then I lost everything because the drive broke down. And so I had to start all over again. I didn't want people to have to go through that again, but I really wanted, we all lose people, and how are you going to pass those memories down if you don't have them? And I really am trying to get to people before they get to a point where they can't share the stories. And that's what drives me, and that's really my mission. This is kind of a second career for me, and it's really where I found my purpose, and I really want to help as many people as I can.
Yeah. I think we were actually just talking about this last night. My in-laws, they have, my mother-in-law, she has a picture of her great-grandparents, and she said, I have the picture, I know who they are, but I know nothing about them. I don't remember them. There's nobody to tell the stories anymore. So I think it's a great idea to preserve early. Like, let's start thinking about this ahead of time.
Right. And I'm trying to get people to understand that best I can.
Give me some examples then. Who's a typical person coming to you for your services? Like, what are they looking for?
Frequently, it's people who are downsizing themselves, or they're moving mom and dad into a facility where they have this house or this condo, and it's like, what do we do with everything? Some of these boxes have not been opened in decades. And then they start opening. I'm like, oh my God, this is really neat. This is me when I was a kid. This is my grandma and grandpa. And this is, I knew great grandma for a little bit. And it brings back all these emotions and memories. And so there's a guilt that they don't want to just throw it out. So what do? Just keep it in the box and put it somewhere, and the next generation gets to handle it. And the problem with that idea is that these photos, and especially the tapes, have a shelf life. They are deteriorating. So we are the first generation to be able to digitize everything for the next generation, but we're also might be the last generation that the tapes are around for in order to do that. So we're in a little window here, I think, that we really need to get on top of preserving these photos and film. So that's my ideal client. Usually that's how people come to me, and they try then to, it starts stories out with their parents or their grandparents about what these pictures were and who they were and where did we come from. Like, my mom was an Irish immigrant, and I'm constantly learning more and more stories about her plight here. I thought she came when she was 18. I learned she came here when she was 17 all along. And I want my kids to know how tough she was and how she survived here, coming here all alone. She was told to come here by her father to send money back to the farm. She had lost her money when she was 12, and she had 5 siblings at home that she had to take care of and send money back to. So those are the stories that the next generations need to know.
And so how do you do that? It's not just the pictures, right? Is it audio tapes? Like, how do you actually bring that together into a story for someone?
The first part of it is just collecting everyone, and every family usually has the collector. Like, everything seems to go to that one person, and they have it, hopefully. But get everything together. And if they're kind of have to go places to get it, we start with film because that's usually labeled. And that's how we get the ball rolling. And then we start with the family, the photo albums, because those are kind of like the highlights of a trip or something that someone thought was important enough to take the time to put in a photo album. And frequently there's stuff written on them, like who the people were, like if they went back to the old country. And we can digitize that whole page, so it's literally or your phone. Then we go to the scrapbooks, and then the old photos from Osco or Walgreens or 24-hour photo, and hopefully there's some writing on them, but usually we can get the years and everything, and then the memories start coming back, and then we put it all together in a digital file, and then hopefully people are up for telling us the stories, and we can do voiceovers, and we can do like a 36 or 90-minute highlight reel, or I guess family documentary. We call them legacy family movies. That gives you the highlights, because the next generations want everything in the palm of their hand and they want it quick. So we hope that is going to stimulate some more questions and digging, and genealogy is getting bigger and bigger. And so you can really go back and research your family if you have something to research.
That's incredible. It sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds, I mean, that's an incredibly good process. I like it. How does something like this take? I guess it depends on how quickly people can get together, or?
Yeah, it all depends on how quickly we can get the stuff. Usually once we have it, it doesn't take very long. We'll have multiple videos going at once, digitizing them. Unfortunately, we can't fast forward film. That would be really helpful. We have a pretty strict process for organizing film. There's a lot of film organizers out there who can help, but there's definitely processes. And we did a project that went all the way back to the 1890s, and we had no one in the family to help us.
Wow.
And it was kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle without knowing what the puzzle looks like. But luckily they wrote a lot on the backs of the photos, and we got to, it was a man who had ALS, and he couldn't communicate with us, but his family came from Germany. They were Holocaust survivors. And it was a fabulous, fabulous story and a history of immigrants coming to America in the 20th century. And it was special, really special. But we've had a few of those World War II, war heroes who still have their wives or grandma kept every single love letter that they mailed them. And the family got to read the story of how the family really got started. It's really, really fun stuff to do.
When you say it like that, I can see why you do this. And that's fun to hear those stories and be able to pass it along to the rest of the family.
Yeah,
now,
I know you mentioned
downsizing, and I think that's a huge thing. When I talk to clients about downsizing, their biggest concern is, what do I do with all my stuff? So this is a great way to handle some of those pictures and film and things like that. I would think also it's a good birthday or anniversary gift. Do you see a lot of that too?
Oh, it is. It really is. We've had a few. I had a client whose mother made him scrapbooks of his life, and they were like his most prized possession because he had lost her, and there were 6 of them, and he was very particular about his office at home, and he knew where everything was. So she would smuggle out one album at a time and get it to me, and I'd scan it, and then she would bring that back and bring me another one. So there was never more than one missing, so she thought he wouldn't notice, and he never did notice. And it was his, I think it was 40th birthday gift. And it was very emotional time for him to get that gift. And they took a video of him opening it, and just being a part of those stories just makes my job so much fun and interesting. And now they'll have it forever, because, everything is gonna fall apart at some point. So now it's digital, and it's great.
I would guess, well, I don't know, you tell me. You know how when they start getting dementia or Alzheimer's, and you hear about music therapy, I would think that seeing some of these pictures is helpful too. Do you find that, or?
So it's something called reminiscence therapy, and they show photos of their past, and it all depends on the patient, obviously. Some, a lot of people will benefit from it. I don't know if everyone can. And especially, like you mentioned, music therapy, if you can tie in music from that era with those photos, it is really impactful from what I understand, from what the medical people tell me. And it's really special. I mean, all we want for our loved ones at that point is to keep them comfortable. We're not going to cure them of their, lack of memory, but we just want to make them comfortable. And hearing voices from their past and their loved ones, and like you said, the music, it really makes a big difference for them. And 2026, that's one of my top priorities is to go into facilities like that and provide that services to as many people as I can. It's really one of the big things that's driving me this year in particular.
What kind of items are you working with mostly? Is it just pictures and slides? What kind of things are you getting from people
Slides,
to preserve?
photos and negatives, reel-to-reel film. That's pretty cool looking when it's done digitally. But also like the World War II hero, he had his uniforms, he had his medals, he had this dagger he had engraved in Tokyo. He was a bombardier over Tokyo. And like I said before, the next generations are not going to go through bins and boxes. It's just not going to happen anymore. So we photographed everything. We took photos of all the little particular pieces of like his uniform, his hat, the medals, the badging, the pipe, everything. And now the kids can flip through it and see it. And they're really, really special, and everyone can see it. So we will take photos of ephemera, as it's called, and make it as comprehensive as we can. Some people want their favorite china patterns to be able to look, especially our elderly. Like this china patterns have been passed down sometimes through generations, and they're not at a place where they have the big china cabinet anymore, and it's sitting out front, So we can photograph that. We can photograph their favorite chairs or their living room before they move, and anything to bring them comfort. But we do audio recordings, you name it. Anything we can digitize, we do. And we get requests for everything. I had a client who, her grandmother kept a diary, and this is going back to like the 1910s and 15s. And she kept it on a piece of paper that was like the stuff in a register. I don't know why. And I don't know, it may have been like toilet paper back then. They lived on a farm. I don't know. But it went for 30 feet. And then both sides she wrote on. And then she cut it. So I had to piece together the dates and then scanned it all and captured each a couple of days at a time. So, I mean, that was really interesting, and the penmanship was fantastic. But she got to listen to the words of her grandmother as, I think she was around 14 or 16, talking about meeting her future grandpa. And it was really cool to do. It was painstaking trying to get it all together, and that's a lot of feet, but it was well worth it. It came out beautifully, and she was just so touched that she could then read it, because it was really tough to read. And then, I made some adjustments to pop out the penmanship a little bit more on the photos so they can read it. It was really neat.
That's incredible. I mean, so it's not just about storing up these memories. It's a way to share them, right? A way to preserve them and share them and let people know their family history. That's cool.
It is. It's powerful, and like, I think when I was struggling with things, with business or the family, I remember my mom telling me I was on a boat for 9 days throwing up so I could come to this country. She liked to throw that at us. I'm the youngest of 7, so she liked to throw that at us when we complained about cleaning anything or walking to the store or something.
Okay, so all of this, when you say it, it sounds easy and amazing, but what for us, it sounds overwhelming. So what advice do you have? How do we start?
Try, like I said, start with any film you have. Okay. That's a good way to get you started and really excited about what's coming. And then we get that done. We give you love that. And then we just start taking it one step at a time. It doesn't have to be this huge project all at once. We can do it in sections. I have people give me film and say, okay, I'm working on the albums now. Which ones we want? Okay, great. I'm going to be done with film now if you want. And it's good to give them like a little deadline. Like, we want to get it done. And sometimes there's a time component. Sometimes there's funerals involved or celebrations of life, but other times people are downsizing, and things get thrown out when, especially if there's a lot of stuff and you're not going through all the boxes. And I understand it. It can be overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming. Like my client who had ALS, his wife had to sell their house and she put everything into storage because everything was all about his health at the time. And she just told me, I didn't have the mental capacity or the energy to look at anything. So here you go. So try getting a plan together and taking it little bits at a time. And you don't have to digitize everything. I've seen so many sunsets at the beach, like every 30 seconds as the sun goes down, and there's no one in them. There's no people. And I try telling people that because they're like, oh my God, I have thousands of photos. And I said, you don't need to do that. Put the TV on, have a glass of wine, and you have a garbage bag, and you have a maybe pile, and you have a definite pile. And you just start going through. And, a shoebox holds about 1,100 photos packed tightly. So if people want a benchmark of how many photos they have, that's a good benchmark. You just use index cards to separate different events and write on them. This is 1969 birthday at, Ethel's house or something. And that's how they'll be named in the file, and everything is done chronologically in the file. It's easy to search, easy to find anything. And people are really happy once they get it done. I think the biggest thing is don't assume that people don't care about it. Everyone says, oh, my kids don't care about that stuff. Well, it depends on where they're at in their lives. There's different priorities depending on where you're at. I did a job for a woman who did her son was in the military in Japan, and she had all the home videos done for his first 28 years of life. And he, tough military guy, he came back, he had a new wife, and for Christmas, and she said she gave it to him as a gift, a thumb drive. It's just a thumb drive, easy to, and she came down the next morning, and he was watching the film with his wife, his new wife, and she was learning about him. And he had tears in his eyes, and she said, are you crying? And he said, no, I'm not crying, but this is awesome. You've given me my life story here. And she says, this is a great Christmas. So people do care about it once they see it. Once they can look at their memories as if they're turning on Netflix, they'll watch them and they'll get into them. But we have to get it to a point where it's that easy, because there's a lot of competition for their eyes. People tell me that, oh, my kids don't care. They do, and they will, and the next generations will also.
That's a great way to end. Well, thank you, John, for joining me. I think is something that's really impactful for families, like you said. All their memories don't have to be locked up in those pictures. People get overwhelmed with the process, and that's why they say they don't care, but you're right, they do care. And when it's easy and they can see it like that, I think it's incredibly impactful. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for all you do for your clients and what you do to help them get through the stages of life.
Well, I hope you found this information valuable and helpful, and I look forward to having more conversations like this.
Thanks for listening to another edition of the Aging, Healthcare, and Everything in Between podcast. Please share this podcast so that others can benefit from the content. Please also leave reviews, as feedback is important to me. And if you have any suggestions for a future episode, email them to s.pogue@stlouisinsurancegroup.com. Thanks again for listening, and I look forward to bringing you more valuable content soon.